Before we dive in, please remember that the information in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not an attorney, financial advisor, or certified divorce financial analyst. This presentation is a general overview of the U.S. market and is not a substitute for professional legal or financial advice. Every divorce situation is unique, so please consult with qualified professionals for guidance specific to your circumstances. The single biggest financial mistake you can make during a divorce has nothing to do with alimony or child support. It's not about who gets the car or the 401k. The biggest, most catastrophic, equity-destroying mistake you can make happens right inside the four walls of the home you once shared. Getting the sale of your house wrong can cost you not just thousands, but potentially tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's the one place where raw emotion and financial naivete collide to create a perfect storm of wealth destruction. Think about it. You're emotionally exhausted. You're navigating one of the most stressful events a person can go through. And now, you're forced to cooperate on a multi-$100,000 business transaction with the one person on earth you may be least inclined to trust right now, your soon-to-be ex. The questions start swirling and they're terrifying. Who gets to live in the house while it's for sale? Who pays the mortgage? What if my ex refuses to make repairs needed to get top dollar? What if we can't agree on a listing price? Can they force me to sell? Can I force them to sell? Who picks the real estate agent? And the biggest question of all, how do we split the money without this turning into another brutal, soul-crushing legal battle? Most people think the divorce decree is the final word. They think a judge will just wave a magic wand and fairly divide the asset. But here's the cold, hard truth the legal system often won't tell you. A courtroom is the absolute worst place to decide the fate of your home. Judges are experts in law, not real estate. They don't know your local market, they don't know what buyers are looking for, and their primary goal is to sever the legal tie, not to maximize your financial outcome. A judge can order the house sold, and if you can't agree, they can appoint a third party to sell it for you. A person whose only incentive is to get it sold fast, not for the highest price. I've seen court-ordered sales go for $20,000, $30,000, even $50,000 below market value. All because two people let their anger and grief get in the way of a smart business decision. Every dollar lost in that sale is a dollar that doesn't go into your pocket. It's a dollar that doesn't go toward your new life, your kids' future, or your financial recovery. This is where you stop the bleeding. This is where you take back control. Over the course of this presentation, I'm going to give you the exact roadmap you need to navigate the sale of your home during a divorce. This isn't just theory. This is a practical step-by-step guide designed to protect your equity, minimize your stress, and help you walk away with the absolute most money possible. We are going to turn one of the most painful parts of your divorce into your biggest financial win. Here's exactly what you're going to learn. First, we'll break down the three fundamental options you have for the marital home. One of you buys the other out, you sell it on the open market and split the proceeds, or in very rare cases, you continue to co-own it after the divorce. We'll dissect the pros and cons of each, so you can decide which path is right for your specific situation. Next, we are going to build your fortress. I'll show you how to create a pre-sale agreement with your ex that covers every single potential point of conflict before it happens. We're talking about who pays for what, how you'll handle offers, the exact timeline for the sale, and the precise formula for splitting the proceeds. This single document can save you thousands in legal fees and countless sleepless nights. Then we'll talk about assembling your team. Choosing the right real estate agent is critical, but in a divorce, it's a whole different ballgame. You don't just need a top seller. You need a skilled negotiator, a neutral mediator, and a project manager who understands the unique legal and emotional dynamics at play. I'll give you the specific questions to ask and the red flags to watch out for so you don't end up with an agent who accidentally pours gasoline on the fire. We'll also cover the roles of your attorney, your appraiser, and possibly even a divorce-certified financial analyst. Finally, we'll walk through the sale process itself, from staging and pricing to navigating offers and closing. We'll uncover the strategies for getting top dollar, even when you and your ex aren't on the best of terms. I'll explain how to handle capital gains taxes, how to properly account for reimbursements for repairs or mortgage payments, and how to ensure the title company divides the funds exactly as you've agreed, so there are no last-minute surprises at the closing table. My goal here is simple: to arm you with the knowledge and confidence to treat the sale of your home like the massive business deal it is. To help you separate the emotional turmoil of the divorce from the financial transaction of the sale. Because when the dust settles and the legal battle is over, The money you walk away with from your home is often the foundation for your entire next chapter. Getting this right is not just an option. It's an absolute necessity for your financial future. So let's get started. The very first fork in the road, the decision that shapes every other choice you'll make, is understanding the fundamental pathways available for your property. Do you sell it, buy it, or keep it? Most people only think about selling, but a buyout can sometimes be a powerful strategic move. And while co-owning is rare, there are specific scenarios where it might make sense. Let's break down the first option, which is often the cleanest and most common path: selling the house on the open market and splitting the profits. This seems straightforward, but the devil is in the details, and those details begin with one critical concept: establishing a baseline for your home's value. You can't decide how to split the pie until you know exactly how big the pie is. So where do you even start? For 99% of people, the journey begins with a quick, nervous tap on a smartphone. You open Zillow or Redfin, or some other real estate portal, type in your address and hold your breath. And there it is. A number. The Zestimate, the Redfin estimate, an algorithm's best guess at your life's biggest investment. Feels solid. Feels real. And for many divorcing couples, this number becomes the first battleground. Let's be brutally honest. Relying solely on these online estimates, what the industry calls automated valuation models or AVMs, is like using WebMD to diagnose a heart condition. It might point you in the general direction, but you would never ever schedule open heart surgery based on it. These AVMs are powerful computer programs that hoover up massive amounts of public data, tax records, recent sales in the area, square footage, and spit out a number. But they are fundamentally blind. An AVM has no idea that you spent $40,000 last year on a complete kitchen remodel with quartz countertops and top-of-the-line appliances. It doesn't know that your neighbor's house, which it's using as a comparison, sold for a low price because it had a cracked foundation and a roof from the 1980s. It can't feel the difference between a neighborhood that's rapidly gentrifying and one that's stagnating. It doesn't see the water stain on the ceiling of the master bedroom or appreciate the custom-built deck with the stunning sunset view. The AVM's biggest flaw is that it's looking at the past through a blurry lens. It's analyzing data that might be weeks or even months old, and it can't account for the unique soul and condition of your specific property. This creates a recipe for disaster in a divorce. One spouse, perhaps the one who wants to sell quickly, latches onto a lower estimate. The other spouse, maybe the one who feels more emotionally attached to the home, finds a higher estimate on a different site and insists that's the real number. Right away, you're not arguing about the house anymore. You're arguing about which computer is right. And you've already spent thousands on attorneys to fight over a fantasy number. This is the Zestimate trap. It's a useful starting point, a ballpark figure, but it is absolutely not the number you take to the negotiating table or to a judge. To get a much clearer picture, you need to bring in a human element. This leads us to the second and far more reliable method: the comparative market analysis, or CMA. This is something you get from a licensed real estate agent. Unlike a computer algorithm, a good agent lives and breathes the local market. They're not just looking at data. They're inside these houses every single day. They know which streets are more desirable, which school districts command a premium, and what today's buyers are actually willing to pay for. When you ask an agent for a CMA, they will typically do it for free, hoping to earn your business if you decide to sell. They'll schedule a time to walk through your home. They'll see the new kitchen. They'll notice the worn-out carpeting in the bedrooms. They'll ask about the age of the HVAC system and the roof. They are gathering real-world, specific intelligence that an AVM could never access. Then they go to work. They pull up what are known as comparables, or comps. These are similar homes in your immediate area that have sold recently, ideally within the last 3 to 6 months. They're looking for homes with a similar number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage. But their real skill is in the adjustments. They'll take a comp that sold for $500,000, but it had an old, dated kitchen. They know a modern kitchen like yours adds, say, $25,000 in value in your market. So they adjust that comp's price up. Then they find another comp that sold for $550,000, but it had a swimming pool and yours doesn't. They'll adjust that price down. After analyzing 3 to 5 solid recent comps and making these nuanced expert adjustments, they'll give you a price range. Not a single magical number, but a suggested listing price range that reflects the current, real-time market conditions. This CMA is a vastly superior tool to any online estimate. It's grounded in reality, but in a divorce it still has one potential vulnerability: the perception of bias. If the real estate agent is your cousin, or your spouse's best friend from college, the other party might immediately distrust the number, no matter how accurate it is. They might suspect the agent is inflating the price to make their friend happy, or deflating it to force a quick sale. The process is only as good as the trust both parties have in the professional providing the analysis. A simple way to counteract this is for each spouse to choose their own agent to prepare a CMA, and then you can compare the two. Often they'll be remarkably close. But what happens when they're not? What do you do when one agent says the house is worth $500,000 and the other says $550,000? This is where you bring in the gold standard. The third and most definitive way to determine your home's value is a professional appraisal. This is the nuclear option for settling valuation disputes, and in many cases it's not an option at all, it's a requirement. A licensed appraiser is a neutral third party. They don't work for the buyer, the seller, or a real estate agent. They aren't trying to win a listing. They are paid a flat fee, usually between $400 and $700, for one thing and one thing only: their unbiased professional opinion of value, backed by a rigorous standardized methodology. When a judge orders a home to be valued for a divorce case, they are ordering an appraisal. When a bank is deciding whether to approve a mortgage for one spouse to buy out the other, they are ordering an appraisal. It is the most legally defensible valuation you can get. The process is even more formal than a CMA. The appraiser will visit the property, measure every room, take extensive photographs, and document the home's condition in meticulous detail. They follow a strict set of guidelines known as the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, or SPAP. Their analysis of comparable properties is incredibly stringent. They must use recent sales, typically within the last 90 days, and within a very tight geographic radius, often less than a mile. Their final report is not a one-page summary. It's a lengthy, detailed document that breaks down every aspect of the property and justifies the final value with hard data and clear explanations. This appraisal report becomes your baseline. It's the official size of the pie. It cuts through all the emotion, all the he said, she said, and all the conflicting online numbers. It provides a single defensible number that both parties, their attorneys, and the court can rely on. While it costs money up front, that cost is a tiny fraction of what you could spend in legal fees fighting over a disputed value. Think of it as an investment in certainty and a shortcut to resolving what is often the most contentious piece of the financial puzzle. So you have these three tiers of valuation: the free but unreliable online estimate, the more accurate but potentially biased real estate agent's analysis, and the paid, legally sound professional appraisal. Understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each is the first critical step, because once you and your spouse can agree on a number, a single, solid, provable number for what the house is worth, everything changes. The fog of war begins to lift. You're no longer fighting about hypotheticals. You're now dealing with a concrete asset with a defined value. And only then can you move on to the next, equally critical question. Now that we know what it's worth, what are we actually going to do with it? This question leads you to a fork in the road, or more accurately, a three-way intersection. Each path leads to a wildly different destination, and choosing the right one depends entirely on your financial situation, your emotional state, and most importantly, your ability to cooperate with your soon-to-be ex-spouse. These aren't just real estate transactions, they are life-altering decisions. So let's walk down each of these three paths together. Path number one is the most common, the most straightforward, and for many, the most desirable. It's what we call the clean break. This is the option to sell the house on the open market, pay off the mortgage and any associated fees, and split the remaining profit, the equity, right down the middle, or according to whatever percentage your divorce decree specifies. The appeal here is its finality. It's the closest thing you can get to a hard reset button. Think about it. The day that sale closes, you receive a check. That check represents your share of the single largest asset you own together. It's not a theoretical number on a spreadsheet anymore. It's real, tangible capital. Capital you can use for a down payment on a new place, to pay off debts, to invest, or simply to have a security cushion as you start your new life. The mortgage, the property taxes, the leaky faucet in the upstairs bathroom, they are no longer your shared problem. The financial cord that has tied you together for years is decisively cut. This financial separation is often mirrored by an equally important emotional one. Selling the marital home means neither party has to live surrounded by the ghosts of the relationship. You don't have to sleep in the same bedroom or cook in the same kitchen that now holds painful memories. You also avoid the potential resentment that can fester when one person gets to keep the house, while the other has to leave. It's a neutral act. You're not kicking them out and they're not kicking you out. A third-party buyer is simply taking over, allowing both of you to walk away as equals. It's clean, but clean doesn't mean painless. The clean break has its own set of very sharp edges. First, there are the transaction costs. Selling a house isn't free. You have realtor commissions, which can be 5 to 6% of the sale price. You have closing costs, staging costs, and potential repair costs to get the house market ready. All of this eats directly into your profit. That number you calculated for your equity is going to be smaller by the time you're done. Then there's the market itself. What if you're divorcing during a buyer's market, when prices are low? You could be forced to sell for far less than you think the home is worth, simply because you need to liquidate the asset to finalize the divorce. The timing is dictated by your legal situation, not by optimal market conditions. And the biggest cost for many isn't financial at all. It's emotional. This is the home where you brought your babies home from the hospital. The doorframe has pencil marks charting your children's growth. Selling it can feel like a profound loss, a tangible symbol of your family's dissolution. If you have children, this path is often the most disruptive. It means a new house, a new room, and quite possibly a new school district, all on top of the already immense stress of their parents splitting up. The clean break for the parents can feel like a chaotic upheaval for the kids. This brings us to path number 2, the buyout. This is often the first option people consider, especially when children are involved. The idea is simple. One spouse keeps the house, and they buy out the other spouse's interest. For instance, if your house is worth $500,000 and you owe $300,000 on the mortgage, you have $200,000 in equity. To buy your spouse out, you would need to give them their half of the equity, which is $100,000. The primary benefit of a buyout is stability, particularly for the children. They get to stay in their home, their school, with their friends, in their neighborhood. The continuity can be an invaluable anchor for them during a turbulent time. For the spouse who stays, they get to keep a home they love and are familiar with, avoiding the stress and uncertainty of house hunting in a potentially competitive market. It feels less like an ending and more like a continuation, just in a different form. But while the idea is simple, the execution is incredibly difficult. Where does that $100,000 in our example come from? It's not monopoly money. The departing spouse needs that cash to start their own life. For the spouse who wants to stay, there are generally 2 ways to get it. Either from other marital assets. If you have a large savings or investment account, you could trade your share of that for their share of the house, or far more commonly through a cash-out refinance. And this is the massive roadblock where most buyout dreams die. A cash-out refinance means the spouse who is staying must apply for a brand new mortgage, in their name only. This new mortgage has to be large enough to pay off the old joint mortgage and provide the cash to pay the other spouse their equity share. So in our example, they would need a new loan for $300,000 to pay off the old loan, plus $100,000 to pay their ex. That's a new $400,000 mortgage. The bank is going to look at one thing. Can this one person on their single income qualify for and afford this huge new loan? After a divorce, incomes are effectively cut in half, while expenses often double as you support 2 separate households. Many people discover that they simply do not have the income to qualify for the refinance on their own. They are approved for a mortgage as a couple, but they are denied as an individual. It's a brutal financial reality check. Even if you do qualify, you could be left house poor, with a massive mortgage payment that drains your finances every month, leaving you with little room for emergencies or other life goals. The dream of keeping the house can quickly become a financial nightmare. Finally, we have path number 3, the riskiest and most complex of all: continued co-ownership. This is sometimes called a deferred sale. In this scenario, you both decide to keep the house and remain on the title and the mortgage together, even after the divorce is final. You agree to sell it at some future date, for example, when the youngest child graduates from high school, or when the housing market improves. On the surface, this can seem like a compassionate, child-centric solution. It provides maximum stability for the kids. It also allows you to wait out a bad market. But make no mistake, this path is an absolute minefield of potential conflict. It keeps you financially entangled with your ex for years. You are no longer partners in marriage, but you are still partners in a very large, very illiquid business venture. This raises 1,000 questions that must be answered in a legally binding agreement. Who will live in the house? Who pays the mortgage each month? Who pays for repairs? What if the furnace breaks? Do you split the $5,000 cost? What happens if the person paying the mortgage loses their job and misses a payment? It damages both of your credit scores. What happens if the spouse living in the house wants their new partner to move in? Is the other co-owner okay with a stranger living in their asset? What if one of you needs to access your equity for an emergency and wants to sell, but the other refuses? Continuing to co-own a home after a divorce requires an extraordinary level of trust, communication, and financial stability from both parties. It essentially extends the financial aspect of your marriage long after the emotional one has ended. For most people, this prolonged entanglement creates more conflict than it solves. It's like trying to run a three-legged race after you've already decided to run in opposite directions. So you have these three options laid out before you. The clean break with its painful finality and fresh start. The buyout with its promise of stability but immense financial hurdles. And continued co-ownership, the entangled path fraught with long-term risk. Each choice carries a universe of consequences, not just for your finances, but for your family's emotional recovery. The decision is rarely just about the money. It's about what kind of future you want to build, and what kind of relationship you can realistically maintain with the person you're divorcing. So let's assume you've made the call. After weighing every pro and con, you and your soon-to-be ex have agreed on the most common, and in many ways the cleanest path forward. You're going to sell the house. This decision, while logical, is the starting pistol for a race that is part real estate transaction and part emotional obstacle course. Because selling a house during a divorce isn't like any other sale. It's not a happy occasion where a growing family is moving to a bigger place. It's the systematic dismantling of a shared life, and every step, from choosing a realtor to signing the closing papers, is loaded with potential conflict. The very first challenge is a psychological one. You have to shift your mindset from our home to a financial asset. This is incredibly difficult. This is the place where you brought your babies home from the hospital, where you hosted Thanksgiving dinners, where you marked your kids' heights on a door frame. Now you have to view it as a product to be marketed, staged, and sold to the highest bidder. And you have to do it in partnership with the one person you're in the process of legally separating from. Every decision becomes a negotiation. What color should we paint the living room? Do we need to replace the worn-out carpet? Who is going to be home for the plumber? These small logistical questions can quickly escalate into major arguments because they're never just about the carpet or the plumber. They're about control, resentment, and a painful history that's bubbling just below the surface. This is why the single most important piece of advice I can give you is this. Treat the sale like a business transaction. And in business, you bring in neutral third-party experts. This is not the time to use your cousin who just got her real estate license or his best friend from college who flips houses. Doing so invites bias, suspicion, and disaster. You need to hire a realtor who has zero personal connection to either of you. Ideally, you want a realtor who has specific experience with divorce sales. They're not just agents, they're part diplomat, part project manager, and part therapist. They know how to communicate separately with both parties, how to mediate disagreements over things like setting the list price, and how to navigate the legal requirements stipulated in a separation agreement or court order. They become the buffer, the professional in the middle whose only goal is to get the asset sold for the best possible price with the least amount of drama. The first major hurdle you'll face with your realtor is setting the price. This is a classic conflict point. One spouse might be emotionally attached and believe the house is worth a fortune because of all the love and memories baked into it. The other spouse might be desperate to move on and want to price it low for a quick sale. This is where your neutral realtor is key. They'll provide a comparative market analysis, or CMA, showing what similar homes in your area have recently sold for. But if you're still at a stalemate, don't let it fester. Agree to hire a licensed, independent appraiser. For a few $100s, you get a legally defensible, unbiased valuation of the property. You can even agree in writing beforehand that you will list the house at the appraised value, or within a small percentage of it. This takes the emotion and the guesswork out of the equation. It's no longer his opinion versus her opinion. It's the professional's valuation. Next comes preparing the house for sale. This means decluttering, deep cleaning, making necessary repairs, and staging. This is another minefield. Who is going to do the work? And more importantly, who is going to pay for it? A $1,000 roof repair or a $2,000 paint job can feel like an impossible expense when you're already stressed about legal fees and the cost of setting up 2 new households. There are a few ways to handle this. The best case scenario is that you both agree on what needs to be done and split the costs up front. If that's not possible, You can agree to have the costs of specific, pre-approved repairs paid back to whichever spouse fronted the money from the proceeds at closing. This should be put in writing. Another option is to see if you can use a home equity line of credit, or HELOC if you have one, to pay for the improvements, with that amount being paid back to the bank at closing before the proceeds are split. The key, again, is to decide on a plan before you start, not in the middle of a heated argument over a receipt from Home Depot. Then come the showings. This is where the reality of leaving truly sets in. Strangers are walking through your bedroom, looking in your closets, judging the life you built. It's invasive and deeply personal. You need a clear written plan for how this will work. Who will be responsible for getting the house ready for a showing? If one person has already moved out, is the remaining spouse obligated to keep it pristine? What about pets? You need a shared calendar and a system for approving showing times that minimizes disruption and avoids conflict. Your realtor can act as the go-between, but you both need to be flexible and cooperative. Remember, every showing you turn down is a potential buyer you lose, which just prolongs this difficult process for everyone. Eventually, an offer comes in, or maybe multiple offers. Now what? Do you take the first one? Do you counter? What if one offer is higher but has complicated financing, while another is a lower, all-cash offer that can close in 2 weeks? Again, one spouse might prioritize speed, the other might prioritize the absolute highest dollar amount. This is another conversation to have with your realtor at the very beginning. Establish your goals. Agree on a minimum price you're both willing to accept. Decide how you'll handle multiple offer situations. Having a predetermined strategy prevents you from having to make a huge financial decision under pressure and in the heat of a potential disagreement. Once you accept an offer and navigate the inspections and contingencies, you finally arrive at the closing table. This is the finish line. The house is sold, the title is transferred, and a check is cut. But where does that money go? It's not as simple as taking the sale price and dividing by 2. First, a whole host of expenses gets paid right off the top. The remaining balance on your mortgage is paid off completely. Your realtor's commission is paid. Both parties' closing costs are deducted. Any property taxes that are due are paid. Any money you agreed to credit the buyer for repairs is subtracted. What's left over is the net proceeds. This is the final pot of money to be divided. How it's split depends entirely on your state's laws and your divorce agreement. In community property states, assets acquired during the marriage are typically considered joint property and are often split 50-50ths. In equitable distribution states, a judge may decide on a split that is deemed fair, which might not be an even 50-50ths. For example, if one spouse used a significant inheritance, which is considered separate property, for the down payment, they might be entitled to get that money back first, before the rest of the proceeds are divided. All of this should be explicitly detailed in your divorce decree. The title company or closing attorney will follow that legal document to the letter. And don't forget about Uncle Sam. You need to consider capital gains taxes. The good news is that there's a significant tax exclusion for the sale of a primary residence. As of now, a single person can exclude up to $250,000 of profit from the sale, and a married couple can exclude up to $500,000. As long as you finalize the sale while you are still legally married, you can take the full $500,000 exclusion. If the sale happens after the divorce is final, you each file as single individuals and can each claim up to a $250,000 exclusion on your share of the profit. For most people, this exclusion is more than enough to cover their gains. But if you live in a high-cost area or have lived in the house for a very long time, it's a critical detail to discuss with a tax professional. Selling the house provides a definitive financial conclusion. It allows both of you to walk away with capital to start your new lives, free from the shared debt and physical ties of the mortgage. It's often the most straightforward, if not the most emotionally easy option. But what if selling feels like a bigger loss than the divorce itself? What if one of you can't bear the thought of uprooting the children from the only home they've ever known? That's when you have to explore a far more complex and financially intricate path, the buyout. And figuring out if you can truly afford it, and how to execute it fairly, is a high-stakes challenge we need to break down next. The buyout option is fundamentally about one question: can one of you afford to buy the other out and keep the house? It sounds simple, but this is where the financial and emotional realities of divorce collide with the unforgiving logic of bank underwriting. Let's be clear. This path is not for everyone. It requires a level head, a sharp pencil, and a brutally honest look at your new financial future. The very first step, the bedrock of any buyout negotiation, is determining the fair market value of your home. And I don't mean the Zestimate you looked up last night. I mean a real professional state-licensed appraisal. This is non-negotiable. In an amicable divorce, you might agree to hire one appraiser and accept their valuation as gospel. This is the ideal scenario. It's faster, cheaper, and reduces friction. The appraiser will walk through your home, compare it to recent, similar sales in your neighborhood, what we call comps, and deliver a detailed report with a hard number. That number becomes your starting point for everything that follows. But let's be real, amicable isn't always the word of the day during a divorce. What if your spouse thinks the house is worth $50,000 more than you do? This is incredibly common. The person staying often wants a lower valuation to reduce the buyout amount, while the person leaving wants the highest possible valuation to maximize their payout. When you reach this impasse, the standard solution is for each of you to hire your own independent appraiser. Now you have two different numbers. If they're close, you might just split the difference. If they're miles apart, you might agree to hire a third, neutral appraiser, and all agree beforehand that their valuation will be the final binding number. Do not move forward until you have an agreed-upon value. Building a deal on a shaky foundation of value is a recipe for disaster. Once you have that magic number, the next step is calculating your home equity. This is the true value you've built in the property. The math is straightforward. Fair market value minus the remaining mortgage balance equals your total equity. So let's use an example. Let's say you both agree the house is worth $500,000. You check your latest mortgage statement and see you still owe $300,000. That means you have $200,000 in total home equity. Now, here's where a lot of people make a critical mistake. They think, okay, $200,000 in equity, so the buyout is $100,000. Not so fast. That's not entirely fair to the person keeping the house. Why? Because if you were to sell the house on the open market, you wouldn't walk away with the full $200,000. You'd have to pay closing costs, real estate commissions, transfer taxes, and other fees. These costs can easily eat up 6 to 8% of the sale price. On a $500,000 home, that's $30,000 to $40,000 right off the top. A fair buyout calculation often accounts for these phantom costs. You would calculate the net equity, which is the total equity minus the estimated costs of a future sale. So, in our example, you take the $200,000 in equity and subtract, let's say, $35,000 in estimated selling costs. This leaves you with $165,000 in net equity. The buyout amount would then be half of that number, $82,500. This is a much fairer approach because it reflects the true cash-in-hand reality of a sale, and it prevents the departing spouse from getting a windfall, while the remaining spouse is left holding the bag for all future transaction costs. So you have your number. The buyout is $82,500. Now comes the million-dollar question for the spouse who wants to stay. Where does that money come from? For the vast majority of people, the answer is a cash-out refinance. This is a crucial concept to understand. The spouse staying in the home applies for a brand new mortgage, in their name only. This new loan needs to be large enough to do two things. First, pay off the entire old mortgage that's in both of your names, and second, pull out enough additional cash, in this case $82,500, to pay the other spouse their share. This is the single biggest hurdle in any buyout scenario. The spouse who wants to stay must now qualify for this new, larger mortgage based on their single income. Think about that. The original mortgage was likely approved based on two incomes. Now, one person with a single, often lower income, has to qualify for an even bigger loan than the original. The bank will scrutinize your debt-to-income ratio, your credit score, and your employment history with a microscope. This is the moment of truth where many buyout dreams die. People are often shocked to discover that, on paper, they simply don't make enough money to carry the house on their own, even if they feel like they can make the payments. The bank's cold, hard numbers don't care about emotional attachments to the home. If a cash-out refinance isn't an option, are there other ways? Yes, but they're less common. The cleanest alternative is to use other marital assets to offset the buyout. Maybe the person staying in the house is willing to give up their share of a 401k, a stock portfolio, or a savings account in exchange for the equity in the home. If you have, say, $100,000 in a joint investment account, you could agree that the departing spouse takes the full $100,000, and in exchange the remaining spouse keeps their $100,000 share of the home equity, with a small cash settlement to even things out. This avoids refinancing altogether, but it requires having significant liquid or transferable assets to trade. Once the financing is secured, whether through a refinance or an asset swap, the final legal steps are critical. You must get the departing spouse's name off two separate documents, the mortgage and the deed. The refinance automatically handles the mortgage. When the new loan closes, the old joint loan is paid off and ceases to exist. The departing spouse is officially off the hook for the debt. But the deed, the document that proves ownership, is a separate issue. The departing spouse will need to sign what's called a quitclaim deed. This document legally transfers their ownership interest to the remaining spouse. And here is a piece of advice worth its weight in gold. If you are the one leaving the home, do not, under any circumstances, sign that quitclaim deed until you have confirmation that the refinance has closed and the buyout check is in your hand or the wire transfer is in your account. Signing the deed before the money and the loan are settled is like handing over the keys to your car before you've been paid. You lose all your leverage and legal ownership, but you could still be on the hook for the old mortgage if the refinance falls through. The proper sequence is everything. Secure the financing, close the loan, exchange the money, and then sign the deed. Finally, even if you clear all these financial and legal hurdles, the spouse who stays must face a new reality. You won. You kept the house. But now you are the sole owner, which means you are solely responsible for everything. The property taxes, the homeowner's insurance, the leaky faucet, the furnace that dies in the middle of January, the roof that needs replacing in 5 years. All of those costs which were once shared are now yours alone. The true cost of keeping the house is never just the mortgage payment. It's the total cost of homeownership, and you have to be prepared both financially and mentally to shoulder that burden by yourself. It's a victory that comes with a heavy weight of new responsibility. But what happens when even this seems impossible? What if you can't agree on a value? What if no one can afford to buy the other out, and the thought of selling feels like a defeat? This is when you enter a dangerous stalemate, a state of limbo where resentment builds and assets waste away. And when you can't decide, you force a third party to decide for you. The court. And a judge-ordered sale is a scenario you want to avoid at all costs. A judge-ordered sale isn't just a bad outcome. It's a catastrophic failure of the process. It's the legal equivalent of a controlled demolition of your single greatest financial asset. Let's paint a picture of what this actually looks like, because it's not something you see on home renovation shows. When you and your ex-spouse cannot agree on how to handle the house, whether to sell it, who should buy it out, or even what price to list it for, you are essentially telling the court, "We are incapable of acting like rational adults, so please you take over." And the court will oblige. The judge's first step is to appoint a neutral third party. This person might be called a receiver, a special master, or a commissioner, depending on your state. Let's be crystal clear about who this person is and who they are not. They are not your friend. They are not your real estate agent. They are an officer of the court. Their one and only objective is to liquidate the asset, your home, as efficiently as possible to comply with the judge's order. Their primary loyalty is to the court, not to your bottom line. Their goal is not to maximize your profit. Their goal is finality. They are there to end the stalemate, and they will do it with the surgical precision of a sledgehammer. The moment this person is appointed, you and your ex-spouse are fired. You are no longer the decision makers. You lose all control. Every single right you had as a homeowner is effectively transferred to this stranger. Think about that. The power to choose the listing agent? Gone. The power to set the asking price? Gone. The power to decide which offers to accept, reject, or counter? Gone. The power to negotiate repairs, closing dates, or any other terms? Completely and utterly gone. You become a passenger in a car being driven off a cliff, and your only role is to watch. First, let's talk about the price. The court-appointed receiver doesn't have the emotional attachment or the financial incentive you do to wait for the perfect offer. They aren't going to spend months staging the home, holding open houses, and waiting for a family to fall in love with it and pay top dollar. Their metric for success is speed. They need to get the property sold, get their report filed with the court, and get paid. This almost universally means one thing: pricing the home for a fire sale. They will list your home significantly below market value to attract an immediate flood of offers, primarily from investors and flippers who smell blood in the water. These are not buyers looking for their forever home. They are sharks looking for a quick profit. They know a court-ordered sale means a motivated, and more importantly, a forced seller. A home that might be worth $500,000 in a normal market might be listed at $450,000, or even $425,000 just to generate instant activity. The receiver will likely accept a lowball cash offer with a quick close over a higher offer that has financing contingencies, just to eliminate risk and expedite the process. Every dollar they leave on the table is a dollar that comes directly out of your pocket and your ex-spouse's pocket. You could lose $50, $70, even $100,000 or more in equity, simply because you couldn't agree on a listing price yourselves. But the financial bleeding doesn't stop there. Oh no, it gets much worse. Remember that court-appointed receiver? They don't work for free. In fact, they get paid very well for their services, and their fees are non-negotiable. These fees are paid directly from the proceeds of the sale before you see a single cent. The fee structure can be a percentage of the final sale price, or more commonly, a very high hourly rate. We're talking hundreds of dollars an hour. Every phone call they make, every email they send, every document they file with the court, it's all being billed to your home's equity. It is not uncommon for the receiver's fees to run into the tens of thousands of dollars. It's a jaw-dropping sum of money you are forced to pay for the privilege of having someone else sell your home for less than it's worth. On top of that, you lose all control over expenses. If a buyer's inspection turns up a list of repairs, you don't get to negotiate. The receiver will likely just approve the repairs to keep the deal moving forward, hiring expensive contractors and again, billing it all to the sale. Need to pay for staging? New paint? Landscaping to improve curb appeal? The receiver will make those decisions, often choosing the quickest, not the most cost-effective option. You are funding a process you have no control over, watching your equity evaporate day by day. Beyond the staggering financial devastation, the emotional toll is immense. This is your home. It's where you raised your children, celebrated holidays, and built a life. Now a stranger has the keys. They will schedule showings at their convenience, not yours. You might be ordered to vacate the property entirely. You will have agents and potential buyers, mostly bargain hunters, parading through your private spaces, judging your life's backdrop. The process is profoundly invasive and humiliating. It's a constant, painful reminder of the failure to reach an agreement. And it's all public. A court-ordered sale is often listed as such in the public remarks of the MLS listing. It's a giant red flag that screams desperation to the entire market. It tells every buyer and every agent that the sellers are in distress and that the property must be sold. It's like putting a kick me sign on your front door. You lose all negotiation leverage before you even begin. The stigma is real, and it costs you dearly both financially and emotionally. This entire nightmare scenario, the loss of control, the fire sale price, the exorbitant fees, the emotional trauma, and the public humiliation, is born from one thing: a deadlock. It's the direct result of two people allowing their anger, their grief, and their resentment to cloud their financial judgment. They would rather let a stranger burn the house down than allow their ex-spouse to have a say in how it's sold. It is the ultimate cutting off your nose to spite your face moment, played out with your life's biggest investment. The court doesn't want to be in the real estate business. A judge-ordered sale is a last resort, a blunt instrument used to resolve a conflict that the parties refuse to resolve themselves. It is a preventable disaster. So the question we must now answer, the one that can save you from this financial and emotional abyss, is this: how do you avoid it? How do you and your soon-to-be ex-spouse, two people who may be at the absolute lowest point in your relationship, come together to make the single biggest financial decision of your lives, cooperatively and intelligently? How do you steer the ship yourselves, instead of handing the wheel over to someone who will steer it directly into an iceberg? Because there are strategies. There are methods and structures you can put in place to force cooperation and protect your equity, even when communication has completely broken down. Let's start with the most common and powerful tool in the arsenal: the court order. When you hear court order, you might picture a dramatic courtroom scene, but in this context, it's more like a pre-written rulebook for the sale of your house, signed by a judge. It's the constitution for your transaction, and it's absolutely non-negotiable. This isn't a suggestion from your lawyer. It's a command from the legal system. If you violate it, you can be held in contempt of court, which can mean fines or even jail time. The court does not play around when its orders are ignored. So what goes into this rulebook? A well-drafted court order will surgically remove all the common points of conflict before they can even become a fight. First, it can mandate the selection of the real estate agent. If you and your ex can't agree on an agent, the court can appoint one. Or it can set a deadline. You both have 10 days to agree on an agent, and if you fail, the court will appoint a specific, named professional. This immediately stops the "my cousin is an agent" versus "my friend from college is an agent" stalemate. Next, it tackles the biggest monster, the listing price. The order can state exactly what the initial listing price will be. How is that price determined? It might be based on the average of 2 or 3 broker price opinions, or BPOs. Or it could be based on a formal appraisal. The key is that the decision is taken out of your emotional hands and placed into the world of objective data. No more fighting over a fantasy number because one person feels they deserve it. The price is the price as ordered by the court. But it doesn't stop there. The order will dictate the terms of price reductions. For example, it might state, if no acceptable offer is received within 21 days, the list price shall be reduced by 3%. And it can schedule these reductions to happen automatically every 21 days thereafter. This prevents one spouse from holding the sale hostage by refusing to lower an unrealistic price, letting the house grow stale on the market, while the mortgage payments and attorney's fees pile up. It also governs the acceptance of offers. The order can define what constitutes an acceptable offer. It might say that any offer at or above 97% of the current asking price must be accepted. If an offer like that comes in, you don't get to debate it. You don't get to say no because you're having a bad day, or because you want to spite your ex. You sign. If you refuse, your ex's attorney can file a motion, show the judge you're violating the order, and the judge can literally sign the contract for you. Think about that. The court can force the sale of your home by signing your name for you. That's the power we're talking about. The order will also cover access to the property for showings, inspections, and appraisals. It will specify that the spouse living in the home must cooperate, must keep the home in show-ready condition, and cannot unreasonably deny access. It can even detail how repair requests from a buyer will be handled, pre-authorizing a certain amount of funds from the proceeds to cover necessary fixes without requiring a new round of debate and signatures for every little thing. This court order becomes the shield that protects the transaction. Your real estate agent doesn't have to mediate your personal disputes. They just have to follow the order. When your ex says, "I'm not signing that offer," the agent can simply say, "The court order says you have to." It depersonalizes the process and transforms it from a marital dispute into a simple matter of legal compliance. But what if one person is so determined to be difficult that they ignore even a direct court order? What if they find ways to sabotage the sale? Leaving the house a mess for every showing, refusing to leave for the open house, or just vanishing when it's time to sign closing documents? This is when the court can bring out the nuclear option. This is the strategy you use when cooperation is not just low, it's non-existent. This option goes by a few different names depending on the state: a special master, a receiver, a referee, or a parent coordinator in some contexts, but the function is the same. The court appoints a neutral third party, usually a seasoned family law attorney or a real estate professional with legal training, and gives them the ultimate authority to manage and execute the sale of the house. This person effectively becomes the CEO of the house sale. They are not an agent. They are an officer of the court. Their job is to do one thing: get the house sold according to the court's directives, regardless of what you or your ex-spouse want. When a special master is appointed, you both lose your seat at the table. You no longer have a vote. Your opinions become irrelevant. Let's be crystal clear about what this means. The special master will select the real estate agent. You don't get a say. They will determine the listing price, often with the help of appraisals, and you will have to live with it. They will approve any and all repairs needed to sell the home, and the money for those repairs will be set aside from the proceeds. They will review all offers and they alone will decide which one to accept. When they accept an offer, they have the legal authority to sign the contract on behalf of both of you. If you are the spouse living in the home and you refuse to cooperate with showings, the special master can get a court order to have you removed from the property. If you refuse to sign the closing documents, the special master will sign them for you. They have the power to do whatever is necessary to close the deal. It is the most extreme and effective way to deal with the completely uncooperative spouse. It's a powerful solution, but it comes at a steep price. Special masters are not cheap. They are highly skilled professionals, and they bill by the hour, often at a rate of several $100s. And who pays for this? You do. Their fees are paid directly from the proceeds of the home sale, right off the top. Every email they have to send, every phone call they have to make because you and your ex can't behave like adults, is literally draining the equity from your home. Appointing a special master is like setting a bonfire in your front yard and feeding it with $100 bills from your retirement account. It's a costly, painful admission of failure, the failure to cooperate. So, you have the formal court order as your rulebook, and the special master as your nuclear option. But there is a third, more proactive strategy that can often prevent the need for either. This involves using a specialized listing agreement or a divorce listing addendum right from the start. A standard listing agreement is designed for a happy, cooperative couple. It assumes both sellers are on the same team. A divorce listing agreement assumes the opposite. It's built for conflict. It's a prenuptial agreement for your home sale. This document is drafted by the real estate agent, in consultation with both attorneys, and signed by everyone at the beginning. It builds in the solutions to future problems. For example, instead of waiting for a judge to order price reductions, the addendum can state the price reduction schedule from day one. It might say, the parties agreed to reduce the list price by 4% every 30 days until the property is under contract. It's signed, it's done. The debate is over before it begins. It can also create a clear communication protocol. It might designate the real estate agent as the central point of contact and state that all communication must be in writing via email, with both spouses and both attorneys copied on everything. This eliminates the he said, she said arguments and creates a perfect, documented record of the entire transaction. Furthermore, it can pre-authorize certain actions. It can give the agent the authority to approve and pay for buyer-requested repairs up to a specific amount, say $2,500, directly from the proceeds at closing. This avoids a potential 3-week-long, multi-thousand-dollar legal battle over fixing a leaky faucet. These three strategies, the court order, the special master, and the divorce listing addendum, are your safety nets. They are the mechanisms that ensure one person's anger, grief, or spite cannot derail the single largest financial transaction of your life. They force cooperation where there is none, and create a path forward when the road is completely blocked. Understanding that these tools exist is the first step. The next step is making sure you have a professional on your team who actually knows how to use them. Because having the right tool is one thing, but having a master craftsman wielding it is something else entirely. And this is where so many divorcing couples make their first, and often most catastrophic mistake. They call the agent who sold them the house years ago, or they call their cousin who just got their real estate license, or they each pick their own agent and create a battle royale in their own front yard. Please hear me on this. Choosing the right real estate agent for a divorce sale is not like choosing an agent under any other circumstance. It is a completely different game with different rules and a much higher risk of failure. Think of it this way. If you needed heart surgery, you wouldn't go to your family doctor. You'd go to a cardiac surgeon, a specialist who has spent years training for that specific high-stakes procedure. Your family doctor is great, but they are a generalist. Selling a house in a divorce is the financial equivalent of open heart surgery. A standard real estate agent, even a very successful one, is a general practitioner. They are experts at selling houses under normal, happy, or at least neutral circumstances. But a divorce is a pathology. It's a special condition that infects every single aspect of the transaction, from communication and decision-making to legal requirements and emotional volatility. What you need is a specialist, a real estate professional who has specific, verifiable training and experience in handling the complexities of a divorce listing. These professionals exist, and they often hold specialized certifications. You might see designations like RCSD, which stands for Real Estate Collaboration Specialist, Divorce, or CDRE, a Certified Divorce Real Estate Expert. These aren't just fancy letters after their name. They represent hours of intensive training in the legal and financial intricacies of divorce, mediation, conflict resolution, and how to work as a neutral third party within a team of attorneys and financial planners. They are trained to be the calm, impartial center of a financial and emotional storm. So, what makes these specialists different? First and foremost, neutrality. A divorce specialist understands their role is not to be a friend or advocate for one side. Their client is the house. Their mission is to preserve the equity in that house for the benefit of both parties, as dictated by the legal framework of the divorce. They act as a single, unbiased point of communication. They don't play telephone relaying he said, she said messages. They establish a communication protocol from day one. This might mean all communication is done via a 3-way email, so both spouses and their respective attorneys see the exact same information at the exact same time. There are no side conversations, no back-channel deals. This single act of structured, transparent communication can extinguish countless potential arguments before they even start. Second, they understand the legal landscape. They know what a court order is, and they know they are bound to follow it to the letter. If a judge has ordered the house to be sold, they understand the specific terms of that sale. They know how to work with family law attorneys, providing them with the clear, unbiased data they need for their cases. A regular agent might get flustered or intimidated when attorneys get involved. A divorce specialist sees the attorneys as essential members of the professional team, all working towards a common goal: executing the terms of the divorce decree. They can even be called upon to provide expert testimony in court regarding the property's value or marketing efforts, and their specialized training gives their testimony incredible weight. Third, they are masters of de-escalation and objective analysis. When it comes time to set a price, a specialist won't ask, "So what do you both feel the house is worth?" That's an invitation for a fight. Instead, they will present a deeply researched, data-driven comparative market analysis, or CMA. They will walk both parties through the objective facts, recent comparable sales, current market conditions, and a pricing strategy designed to maximize financial return, not to satisfy one party's emotional attachment or the other's desire for a quick exit. When an offer comes in and one spouse wants to accept and the other wants to reject, the specialist can calmly model the net financial outcome of each choice, removing the emotion and focusing purely on the numbers. So how do you find this person? You interview them, and you need to ask the right questions. This isn't the time to ask, "How many houses did you sell last year?" The more important question is, how many of those sales were divorce listings? Don't be afraid to dig deep. Here are the questions you absolutely must ask any agent you're considering. 1. What specific training or certifications do you have related to selling real estate in a divorce? If they can't name one, that's a huge red flag. 2. Describe your communication process when working with two sellers who may be in high conflict. Look for a clear, structured plan like the three-way email system I mentioned. If their answer is vague like, "Oh, I'm a great communicator," move on. 3. How would you handle a disagreement between us on a major decision, like which offer to accept? The right answer involves using objective data, facilitating discussion, and potentially referring back to the attorneys or a mediator if an impasse is reached. The wrong answer is, "I'll convince the other one you're right." 4. Are you comfortable and experienced in communicating directly with our family law attorneys? You want an agent who sees this as a normal and necessary part of the process, not an intimidating burden. And finally, 5. Can you explain how your role changes if the sale becomes court-ordered? This question tests their understanding of the legal authority that can sometimes override the seller's personal wishes. Their ability to act as an agent of the court is a critical skill. Watch out for the red flags during these interviews. An agent who immediately tries to align with one of you is a danger. An agent who uses emotional language or talks about winning for one side doesn't understand their role. An agent who dismisses the need for a specialized process, saying a sale is a sale, is demonstrating a profound and costly ignorance. Choosing your agent is the single most important decision you will make in this process. It's more important than the staging, the photography, or the open house schedule. Getting this choice right puts a skilled, neutral captain at the helm of your ship, navigating you through the storm. Getting it wrong is like handing the wheel to someone who has never seen a storm before, and then being surprised when you end up on the rocks. This professional is your project manager, your communications hub, and your buffer against conflict. Their job is to protect your equity from the corrosive effects of the divorce itself. Taking the time to find the right one isn't just a good idea, it's the foundation upon which a successful and peaceful sale is built. So now that you have this neutral, expert third party, the real work begins. And the first thing that agent should help you establish are the rules of engagement. This isn't just some casual agreement. This is the operating manual for your business partnership for the next 90 days. How will communication flow? The single biggest mistake couples make is allowing the agent to become a go-between, a messenger in a game of telephone. This creates distrust. One person always feels like the other is getting more information or is trying to influence the agent behind their back. The solution is a mandatory communication protocol. The gold standard? A CCC email rule. Every single email, every update, every document sent from the agent to one spouse must be sent to the other spouse and their respective attorneys in the very same email. No exceptions. No sidebar texts. No quick, confidential phone calls. It creates a transparent, documented record of the entire process. It's not about mistrust. It's about building a system that removes the opportunity for mistrust. This single rule can lower the temperature of the entire transaction by 20 degrees. Next, you'll face the listing agreement. Most people see this as a formality. You see a stack of papers, you sign where the agent points, and you move on. In a divorce, this document is your constitution. You need to read every single line and you need to understand it. What's the commission? Is it fixed? What is the exact term of the contract? Is it 90 days? 180 days? What happens if one of you gets cold feet and wants to pull the house off the market? What are the penalties? This document legally binds you together in a specific financial endeavor. It outlines your obligations to the agent and to each other. Don't just sign it. Have your agent walk you both through it, preferably at the same time, either in person or on a conference call, so you both hear the exact same explanation. And if you have attorneys, have them review it. A few $100s in legal fees to review the listing agreement can save you tens of thousands in litigation if something goes wrong. Once you're officially listed, you hit the most emotionally charged minefield of all: getting the house ready to sell. This is where years of resentment about who left their socks on the floor can explode into a full-blown war over what color to paint the living room. One spouse wants to spend $10,000 updating the kitchen they always wanted. The other doesn't want to spend a dime. One thinks the house is perfect as is. The other sees 1,000 tiny flaws that they've been complaining about for a decade. This is where your specialist agent earns their commission. They aren't a designer. They are a de-escalation expert with a paint swatch. They will provide a data-driven list of what needs to be done, and more importantly, what doesn't. They'll say, look, the data shows that a $500 investment in neutral paint and decluttering can yield a $5,000 return. But that $10,000 kitchen update? You'll only get $6,000 of it back. It's not worth it. They transform an emotional argument into a business calculation. But who pays for these repairs? This is the killer. If one person is cash-strapped and the other isn't, it becomes a point of leverage and resentment. The best-case scenario is to create a joint account for house expenses, funded equally. But that's often not possible. The next best solution is to defer the costs. Many contractors and staging companies who specialize in pre-sale preparations will agree to be paid out of the proceeds at closing. The agent facilitates this. The cost is simply deducted from the final check before the money is split. This removes the immediate financial pressure and the "I paid for the painter, so you owe me" arguments. It turns the focus from what I'm spending now to what we are both gaining later. Then comes the biggest decision of all, the price. Setting the listing price is a delicate dance between fantasy and reality. One spouse might be anchored to a zestimate they saw 6 months ago. The other might be clinging to the price their neighbor got last year. Often, one person will want to price the home astronomically high, not because they think it will sell, but as an emotional statement. This is what our life was worth, they're really saying. The other, desperate to just be done with it all, might want to price it so low it sells in an hour, leaving a mountain of money on the table. Your agent's job is to be the voice of reality. They will present a comparative market analysis, or CMA. This isn't an opinion. It's a dossier of evidence. It shows what comparable homes in your neighborhood have actually sold for in the last 90 days. Not what they were listed for, but the final closed sale price. They will walk you through the data, home by home, showing you why your house is worth more than house A but less than house B. The CMA becomes the objective truth in the room. It's not the agent's price, it's not your price, it's not your ex's price. It is the market's price. Agreeing to let the data make the decision is a monumental step toward a successful sale. Finally, the moment of truth arrives, you get an offer. Or better yet, multiple offers. This should be a moment of celebration. But in a divorce, it's often the final boss battle. Let's say you get 2 offers. Offer A is for $510,000, but the buyers need a mortgage and are asking for you to pay $5,000 of their closing costs. Offer B is an all-cash offer for $495,000 that can close in 15 days. Which one do you take? The spouse who needs the absolute maximum cash to put a down payment on their next place will fight for offer A. The higher number is all they see. The spouse who is more risk-averse, who fears the deal falling apart over a low appraisal or a financing issue, will see the certainty and speed of offer B as a godsend. They'll argue that the $15,000 difference is worth it for a guaranteed close. The argument isn't really about the money. It's about their different life circumstances, their different fears, and their different futures. This is where a great agent doesn't just forward the offers, they analyze them. They'll create what's called a net sheet for each offer. This is a spreadsheet that breaks it all down. It shows the offer price, subtracts the agent commissions, subtracts the seller concessions, estimates the closing costs, and spits out one number at the bottom: the estimated net proceeds to be split. Suddenly, the $510,000 offer isn't $510,000. After concessions, it's $505,000. The agent will also have vetted the buyers. They'll have spoken to the lender for offer A and can report on the strength of their pre-approval. They'll have a proof of funds for the cash buyer in offer B. They present the facts. Offer A has a higher potential reward, but carries a 20% risk of falling through. Offer B is a slightly lower reward, but has a near 100% certainty of closing. The agent reframes the decision. It's no longer an emotional fight. It's a risk-reward analysis, just like any other business decision. By establishing these protocols for communication, pricing, and negotiations from the very beginning, you create a system. A system that protects you from your worst impulses, that guides you with data instead of drama, and that keeps the focus squarely on the one goal you both still share: getting the most money possible out of your largest shared asset. Because once you accept that offer, you're not done. You've just entered the final, and often most treacherous phase of the journey. This is the part of the process where good intentions go to die. It's the final mile of a brutal marathon where every muscle is screaming, and your resolve is tested not by one big event, but by a dozen small, infuriating cuts. This is the period between contract and closing, commonly known as being in escrow or under contract. And for a couple navigating a divorce, it's less of a straight path to the finish line and more of a frantic scramble through a collapsing tunnel. Every problem that would be a simple annoyance for a typical seller becomes a potential deal-killing grenade in your situation. The first hurdle, and it's a big one, is the home inspection. The buyer will hire a professional to go through your home with a fine-tooth comb, looking for every flaw, from a leaky faucet to a cracked foundation. They will produce a report, often a terrifyingly long document, and present you with a list of demands: repairs, replacements, or credits at closing. In a normal transaction, the sellers sit down, review the list, and decide what's reasonable. But you're not in a normal transaction. You and your soon-to-be ex have to agree on how to respond. What happens when your ex, who always thought that rickety deck was a death trap, wants to give the buyer a $10,000 credit just to be done with it, while you, who just spent $500 staining that same deck last summer, see it as a perfectly fine structure and want to fight every single request? This isn't a hypothetical. This exact scenario plays out every single day. One person is financially conservative and wants to preserve every penny of equity. The other is emotionally exhausted and is willing to pay almost any price for the freedom of closing the deal. This disagreement isn't just about money. It becomes a proxy war for every other fight you've ever had. He'll say, "You were always cheap." She'll say, "You were always reckless with money." The real estate negotiation becomes a therapy session from hell. And the buyer doesn't care. They just want their credit. The only way to survive this is to have a predetermined strategy. Before you even list the house, you and your attorney should have established a framework for handling inspection requests. A brilliant strategy is to agree on a concession cap. You both agree in writing that you are willing to collectively spend up to a certain amount, say $5,000, on inspection-related repairs or credits without a major debate. You can even assign a single person, your agent or one of the attorneys, the authority to negotiate and approve items up to that amount. This takes the decision and therefore the conflict out of your hands. It transforms a personal battle into a simple business transaction. If the buyer's requests exceed that pre-approved cap, then and only then does it trigger a formal discussion with both of you and your legal counsel. You're not deciding based on emotion. You're executing a plan you made when you were both calm and rational. But let's say you survive the inspection. You've agreed to fix the garbage disposal and give a small credit for the worn-out carpet. You breathe a sigh of relief. But you're not out of the woods. Next up is the appraisal. The buyer's mortgage lender will send out an independent appraiser to determine the home's value, to ensure they aren't lending more money than the asset is worth. And in a shifting market, appraisals can be a minefield. What happens when you've agreed to sell the house for $500,000, but the appraiser comes back and says it's only worth $480,000? This is called an appraisal gap, and it's a crisis point. The bank will only lend based on the lower value. This leaves a $20,000 hole. The buyer will come back to you with three options. They can try to come up with the extra $20,000 in cash, which is rare. They can terminate the contract and walk away, getting their deposit back. Or the most likely scenario, they'll ask you to lower the price to the appraised value. Now you face the exact same conflict as the inspection, but with much higher stakes. Do you swallow a $20,000 loss, $10,000 out of your pocket and $10,000 out of your ex's? Maybe one of you desperately needs that money for a down payment on a new place and refuses to budge. The other might see it as the cost of getting the deal done and moving on with their life. The argument reignites. We never should have accepted this offer. I told you we listed too high. This is your fault. Again, the solution is unemotional, calculated strategy. Your agent's job is to present the facts. They can challenge the appraisal if there are legitimate errors, providing the appraiser with better comparable sales to support your price. But if the appraisal is solid, you have a business decision to make. Does it make financial sense to lower the price and close the deal now? Or do you risk putting the house back on the market, where it might sit for another month and potentially sell for even less? Your agent can run the numbers. A $10,000 loss per person might feel terrible, but it might be far better than paying another 2 months of mortgage, taxes, and insurance, only to end up at the same price with a new buyer anyway. The key is to remove the blame and focus on the math. Even if you clear the inspection and the appraisal, the final gauntlet awaits, the physical act of moving out. This is where the emotional weight of the situation becomes crushing. For years, this was your home. Now it's just a property, an asset to be liquidated. And you have to divide a life's worth of belongings under a stressful deadline. Who gets the custom window treatments you picked out together? What about the brand new washer and dryer? The contract specifies what fixtures must stay, but the line between a fixture and personal property can get blurry and become a source of bitter, last-minute conflict. One party might, out of spite, take something they know the buyer was expecting to stay, like a specific light fixture or the garage shelving, jeopardizing the entire sale at the 11th hour. Then there's the condition of the house itself. The contract requires it to be broom clean, but one person might move their things out and leave behind a mess of trash and clutter for the other to deal with. This isn't just an inconvenience. It can cause a major issue at the buyer's final walkthrough, the last visit they make before closing to ensure the home is in the agreed-upon condition. If they walk into a filthy, damaged house, they can refuse to close. The solution here is meticulous, almost painfully detailed planning. You need a written and signed agreement, separate from the real estate contract, that inventories every single disputed item and clearly states who is taking what. For the move-out itself, schedule it in advance and, if possible, have it professionally managed. Agree to have a professional cleaning service come in after both parties have completely vacated. The costs can be taken directly from the proceeds of the sale before they are split. This ensures the house is delivered to the buyer in the proper condition and prevents one person from having to clean up the other's mess, which is a recipe for a final explosive fight. Finally, you arrive at the closing day. In many cases, you and your ex won't even be in the same room. You'll sign the documents at separate appointments with the title company or closing attorney. You'll review the final settlement statement, the document that shows exactly where every single dollar is going. And then you'll sign. This is the moment of truth, because until your signature is on that final deed, the deal isn't done. And in a high-conflict divorce, the threat of one party refusing to sign at the last minute is very real. It can be used as a final desperate act of leverage or control. This is where having a court order to sell the house becomes your ultimate safety net. If one party refuses to cooperate, your attorney can file a motion to compel them, using the force of the court to ensure the sale goes through as ordered. It's the last line of defense against emotional sabotage. Navigating this final phase is about shifting your mindset from that of a homeowner to a business partner executing the dissolution of a major asset. It requires structure, outside help, and a plan for every contingency, because you can be sure that this process will test you on every single one.